Good morning to everybody. I will immediately put my slides on and I will maybe cut the video because I'm a little bit afraid and nervous about my connection, internet connection today. So I will share the screen with my slides. And as introduction, I would just say that indeed I'm the team leader for Policy Development and Strategy in Energy Efficiency Unit. And then as article specialist, I'm working on energy services provisions, so Article 29. So obviously it's not the one that we'll be discussing today. And this is because I'm replacing my colleague, Edita Novak, who is the article specialist for energy savings obligation. So I hope that my slides are already visible.
Yes, that's perfect. It's in full screen and we hear you very well.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Good. So I will present you really the main elements of the recast directive that was now adopted in September, 13th of September, and is actually already in force as the EU law since 10th of October. But it will be transposed to the national law during this 2 years period, which is given to member states to transpose these provisions. Mainly, the directive stays in its shape and its, let's say, logic as it was. So many elements are revised with high ambition, but their architecture stays as it was before. And this is also the case of energy savings obligation. The higher ambition is obviously in line with the high ambition of the climate target, and that's why we have in this revised directive a higher increased targets for energy consumption reduction. So 11.7% of decrease in energy consumption reduction at EU level. Based on 2020 reference scenario, both primary and energy consumption, while the final energy consumption target is binding at EU level. And this is accompanied with strong governance mechanism to make sure that the national contributions that member states will be now defining in the national and energy climate and energy national energy and climate plans will add up to this level of ambition. And then that there will be sufficient measures in place to be on track to meet these targets. So higher target, the overall targets is the first element of the revision. The second very important element is energy efficiency first principle. This principle was already included in the governance regulation as a guiding principle for the energy transition process overall. But now Article 3 requires its practical consideration in all policy, strategy, planning and investment decisions. So to consider the most energy efficient options, both on the demand and supply side, to make sure that, within this process of redesigning energy system, energy sector, energy world, that we are choosing the most energy efficient options, which are also the most cost-effective ones. So to ensure that indeed energy efficiency is a safeguard for most cost-effective, cost-efficient pathway of decarbonization. So it's a very important principle, but there is still a challenge to make it operational and make it respected in all these decision-making processes. And on this, we'll be further working by providing sector-specific guidance, including for energy sector. The next important element, which of course we are discussing today, is the strengthened energy savings obligation in end use. And here the ambition is strengthened, but as said, the overall logic is the same as functioning already for 10 years or more. So it's the continuation of the same approach with a higher ambition. Stronger exemplary role of the public sector. There is a dedicated chapter with 3 articles dedicated to public sector leading role in energy efficiency, with a totally new target that is comprising the whole public sector and requiring final energy consumption of 1.9% per year. and continuation of the obligation of renovation of public buildings, as well as energy efficiency consideration in public procurement. So that's what we have as the provisions for public sector. And finally, increased focus on alleviating energy poverty, and this including in within the energy savings obligation, what I will present in a second. So getting to Article 8, the EED recast raises the rates of new annual energy savings, required that this stepwise approach of raised rates comes as of 2024 onwards. And so we have 3 steps: 1.3%, 1.5% in 2026 as of 2026, and 1.9% as of 2028. And currently the rate is 0.8, as you know, and this is the rate of final energy consumption that is average over the recent 3 years, over the most recent 3-year period preceding 2019. So yes, the stepwise approach as regards increasing the ambition of annual new energy savings in and used, while the overall logic is to calculate the amount of cumulative savings that are demanded for the whole period in a cumulative manner, so from 2021 to 2030. One more information, the derogation for Malta and Cyprus with a lower rate is still there, but the rate is also increased. So Malta and Cyprus minimum annual rate of new energy savings in and used is 0.45%. And this is a raise from the current level of 0.24. As regards the energy poverty, it's a new requirement in Article 8.3, which requires member states to establish and achieve a share of the required amount of cumulative end-use energy savings among specific target groups, meaning people affected by energy poverty, vulnerable customers, people in low-income households, and, where applicable, people living in social housing. So what is this share that they need to achieve? This share is actually equal to the proportion of households in energy poverty that member states notified in the NECPs. And if they didn't, because this happens, if a member state hasn't notified the share of households in energy poverty as assessed currently in the NECPs, there is another option for defining this share. It should be a arithmetic average of 4 statistical indicators, which are inability to keep the home adequately warm, arrears on utility bills, total population living in dwellings with leaking roof, damp walls, floors, or foundation, or population at risk of poverty rate. And all these 4 indicators are provided by Eurostat, so there will be harmonized data for defining this share if member states didn't define it in the NECPs. As regards the reporting, there is no major change, but I would like to highlight, because we will be discussing today the NECPs, that Article 8, paragraph 11 aligns the energy savings obligation with the governance regulation and notably streamlined reporting requirements and include within the updated national energy and climate plans both the information on the amount of the required savings and the description of policy measures to be implemented to achieve this higher amount of, as well as the calculation methodology. So member states, when they are preparing now the drafts and final updated NECPs, and the final NECPs are required by June next year, need to indicate indeed not only the increased rate of savings, but also the measures that will be leading to this increased ambition. Another element that was revised, that is new in Article 8.13, is the possibility to carry over part of the surplus achieved savings from the previous period to the next period, and the obligation to carry over the underachievement to the next period. Obviously, we will not act retroactively here, so it is only forward-looking. So therefore, it is only relevant when we'll be moving from the current obligation period, so current decade, to the next decade. And indeed, Article 813.1 states that member states, if they do not achieve cumulative end-use energy savings by the end of the obligation period, they shall achieve the outstanding energy savings by the end of the following obligation period. But the same paragraph, the same point, but paragraph 2 adds the possibility for member states who overachieved the savings in the obligation period to carry over the eligible amount of, but not more than 10% of such a surplus into the following obligation period, without obviously having the target being increased. So in practice, it means that the eligible amount to be carried over can be deducted from the cumulative savings targets of the next period. So that's the carryover. That's also a new thing. And then in Annex 5, which provides, the methodology of calculation and, the principles how to calculate energy savings, there is not that much novelties, but one, which is the fossil fuels exclusion, but I will get to this. First, I would like to go through some new elements, which are rather clarifications than new approaches. So Annex 5.2, paragraph 2.a, further clarifies how we apply the materiality principle and how the materiality principle can be proved. The materiality principle means that policy measures where that energy savings must be linked, caused by policy measures. So that must be this materiality link proven, and member states are required to demonstrate that one of the objectives of the policy measure is the achievement of end-use energy savings. So that these end-use energy savings wouldn't happen otherwise, and they are not just hazardous savings that happened, but they were really caused by the policy measures. So to evidence that the reported energy savings are caused by a policy measure. Additionality principle is also not new, but in the current circumstances, it was important to clarify 2 points. And this happened during the negotiations, and we had many discussions about them. And for this reason, following clarifications were added. First concerns the MAPs, so minimum energy performance standards that are proposed in the recast EPBD. Of course, if they are adopted, such standards can be considered. I mean, the measures that are put in place by member states to achieve these standards can be counted under Article 8, provided that this materiality principle is proven, so that there is a measure designed by member state to trigger energy efficiency improvement. And the second element is about the measures that were taken by member states in the context of the crisis to reduce gas demand. And such measures, provided that they resulted in end-use energy savings and provided that these were energy efficiency improvement measures and not curtailment, they can also be accounted under Article 8 for the energy savings obligation target. So provided they are not curtailment, so cutting simply the supply of gas to industries or households, these measures, if member states design the energy efficiency improvement measures to achieve the gas demand reduction during this period of emergency measures, they can also be accounted for Article 8 obligation. Finally, another clarification is also about ETS sector, where because as you know, there is now ETS2 that is introduced for buildings and transport. And therefore, it was important to clarify that ETS is excluded as a measure, so we cannot count the energy savings that were achieved by ETS action itself. However, it is not excluded as sector because now it's covering almost all the sectors with ETS2, because industry, households, and transport are covered by ETS. So member states can, of course, design policy measures to achieve end-use energy savings in these sectors, and these policy measures are accountable for Article 8. However, ETS as such cannot be counted, so the fact that the price of energy of fuel is higher due to ETS, and this triggers some energy savings, this should be deducted from energy savings, because those would happen in any event due to ETS and not by the specific policies designed under Article 8. So that was another rather clarification than change, because that would in any case be understood in this way in our analysis of the policy measures and energy savings submitted by member states. And finally, the really a new point of interest in Annex 5 is the fossil fuels exclusion. It is written not in a very clear manner, but it has quite clear logic. It is phased in two phases. And first of all, I need to highlight that the target of this exclusion is to avoid new investments in fossil fuel technologies. So fossil fuel burning boilers, gasoline cars, diesel cars, all new investments, new technologies that could be supported with public support cannot be are targeted by this exclusion. Even though if they would lead to some energy efficiency improvements, because if changing, for example, a coal boiler by gas boiler, there is obviously some energy efficiency improvement, but at the same time, there is this lock-in effect, long-term lock-in effect in a fossil fuel technology, which we would like to avoid, and therefore there is this exclusion. And the exclusion, as said, is phased in first as of 2024, aiming at removing from the calculation of eligible energy savings the energy savings that are resulting from newly implemented policy measures that are subsidizing, or let's say supporting, the use of direct fossil fuel combustion in products, equipment, transport systems, vehicle, buildings, and works. However, there is a derogation that still we can count those energy savings that were achieved in energy-intensive industries, provided there is a number of conditions that are met. So in energy-intensive industries, where there is really no alternative ready on the market, that then burning fossil fuels, if a technology burning fossil fuel is replacing an older one that was less energy efficient, this can still be eligible, but based on number of conditions linked to energy audits. I will not enter into the details, but please just bear in mind that we have this exceptional treatment of energy-intensive industries where there are no alternatives than combustion of fossil fuels. And the phase 2 is about making ineligible for Article 8 purposes all the policy measures that contain any support to direct combustion of fossil fuel technologies within. So this happens as of 1st of January 2026. And even stricter operation of this exclusion concerns the residential sector, where no matter whether the policy measure is new or existing, as of 2026, there should be no subsidy to fossil fuel technologies in residential sector, and it is fully aligned with other pieces of legislation. As you know, in the EPBD recast, there is a similar proposal for not subsidizing fossil fuel boilers in residential sector as of 2025. And also eco-design has similar approach. Therefore, this is in coherence, let's say, with the overall logic of the EU legislation, and of course, Repower EU context is specifically relevant for that. So this is everything. Thank you very much, and I close here my presentation. I'm happy to discuss later the questions.